Yeah.
Hello and welcome. Before we get started, there's one thing I want to touch on, and a lot of you know this. Make sure that whatever state you live in, that you can use rattling, food plots, game cameras. A lot of states have different rules, so I want you, to check into that with your wildlife and fisheries. I don't want you guys and gals getting into trouble. We're going to continue our discussion why you're not seeing deer on opening day or during hunting season. A lot of it, as I said in the other shows, it could be lack of food, weather conditions. It could be a lot of factors, things that are not in your control. But the purpose is to try to get those deer to come back. And one of those methods is rattling. And rattling is nothing more than imitation of two dominant bucks fighting over territory or over does. And the tools of the trade, well, there's a lot of manufacturers out there that make synthetic antlers. They have some that are, and you have them in bags, little wood strips. There's a lot out there, and they all say the same thing. It's the closest thing to the bone antlers. Over the last 50 plus years, I've been as a teenager, I used the real thing. It was a buck I shot. My father told me, you don't hang that in the barn because it's good for rattling. It's a thick antlers. They produce a more deeper, richer sound. And you can buy antlers on eBay. Don't quote me, but I think down 20, 30 bucks. But you actually can get the real thing. Nothing against the other things, but for us, the real things always work the best. When you want to use them, the best time, as we found over the last 50 years, is in the morning. And the weather conditions are very important. You want an overcast morning with very little wind and low humidity. The low humidity and very little wind allows the sound to travel further. As you know, most deer can hear up to 400 years based on terrain and other factors. But typically when it comes to antlers and rattling, it's basically about 200 to 250 yards. And the low light conditions, the overcast, there's a lot of experts trying to figure out why, but what I've seen over the years, as you've seen in the other videos I talk about, deer eyesight is best in low light conditions, so it allows them to see a little bit better. Now, when it comes to setup, a lot of guys and gals like to get on the ground, take their antlers, bang around on the grass, brush and everything else to simulate a buck fighting, and that's good. But the problem is when you're on the ground, you cannot see everything around you. Alright. You're also giving off possibly body odors. These bucks, if they're coming in, they're going to see you long before you see them, because like I said, they can smell up to 1,000 yards under most conditions and can hear up to about 400 yards. Those two are their number one defenses, and their vision is like 2D. So they can pretty much lock on when they're coming. They've got a general area where that sound's coming from. Once they come in and you see them, they're going to pretty much see you. So stop the rattling. Wait to see what they're going to do. If they don't and they turn around and start moving away, and you can see the back of their heads, you can do a quick rattle just to get their attention. But whatever you do, don't do it when they're looking towards you, because you're going to be busted. All right. When you see a buck or a doe, they're standing at full attention. Their ears are up, and those ears can rotate like radar, each independent. And they're staring at you, and you see them stomp their foot or hear them snort, it's over. They've found you. They're just trying to identify you, especially if they start tilting their heads, trying to zero, because they've seen something. They're just trying to identify it. The best way is to go up, either into a ladder blind up high. That you consider the safetiest thing for you. You know, the height is based on what you consider the safest, or a box blind. And you also want to be in an area, If you just have a bunch of trees and you don't have any brush around you, behind you, it's going to be pretty difficult, because when they come in, they're going to be looking for these other bucks. And if they don't see anything, they know something's wrong, okay? And they're going to tend to move away. If you try to get where you have some fallen trees behind you or brush around you to give the impression maybe there's something back there. Now, should you rattle? That I'm going to leave up to you to make your decision, because it depends on your habitat and the deer. Now, if you can't use a camera, or you're not seeing any deer or hearing rattling going on, deer fighting on the property, or you're checking hoof prints, and that's something we'll look at in another show. You're not seeing any large deer buck prints. You don't hear any fighting going on in the woods or wherever you're at. Good chance are you don't have no 4, 5, or 6-year-old bucks. You probably got 2 and 3, and rattling may not be the best thing for you, because you got to remember, these bucks, the younger bucks, 2 or 3, they're not fully developed. They're not full body. They don't have big antlers, and they do very, very light fighting. Because you got to remember, during the summer these bucks stay together, and then in the fall they start breaking apart because their testosterone levels starting to go up, and they are just sparring at that time, the older bucks and the younger bucks. It's not until the pre-rut and more into the full rut is when they really start tying into it. And when you're in the full rut, they're fighting to the death. So you got the pre-rut, they're fighting, but the testosterone levels are not up there yet. They're just fighting for dominance, and this is my territory, you need to go somewhere else. Full rut, they're fighting to the death, and that's when you do your full rut or rattling. Then you have your post-rut, and what we've seen over the many, many years is post-rut. Now you can get a buck, but typically these bucks are wore out. They've lost 25% of their body weight. Their feet hurt, their hips hurt, because they've been running day and night chasing does, and most of those have been bred. So basically they're looking for an area just to rest up. The weather's getting colder. They just want to conserve their energy, start rebuilding their strength, and it's really difficult to get them in that post-rut. Now, should you rattle? All right, if you've got young bucks and you want to rattle, say you've got 2 and 3-year-old bucks and you want to rattle, typically what you want to do is just do, all right, because they have small antlers, they don't have the strength to fight. Do that for about a minute. Wait about 5 minutes, then for about another 1 or 2 minutes, lightly rattle, and then wait another 5, maybe 10 minutes, and then you get a little more aggressive, and then wait about an hour, and if you want to redo it. Now, that's pretty much the pre-rut, post-rut, rut. Now, if you've got dominant bucks in your area, you've seen them on camera, or you've seen the hoofs, or you've seen them, or you've heard the fighting going on, you know, then you know you've got them in there. That's a different story. The pre-rut, you can start off softly for about a minute, 2 minutes. It's like 2 boxers going at it. They're measuring themselves at first. Wait about 5 minutes, get a little more aggressive, and do it for 2 to 3 minutes, and then it's like they're fighters. They'll back off a little bit and then they come again. The third time, you know, let it rip. And this is if you've got the 4 and 5-year-old bucks, and then do that. And then wait about 15, 20 minutes, and then you repeat the process. It's really your decision if you want to go that direction. I strongly advise you, if you've never rattled before and you don't see that you have large bucks in your area, one of the best things you probably want to do is maybe not rattle initially. Just basically, in the next show we'll get into grunt calls, and the grunt calls are really great for the younger deer and the older deer, and it serves a lot of other purposes, and that, like I said, we'll do the grunt calls in the next show. I think that's about it for right now. I'll give you one demonstration. When you're, like I said, this is for the older bucks. When you're really fighting anything, start off initially just kind of slow, because they're pushing against one another, and then they back up, and then they really get into it, and then slide a little bit. That's when the older bucks, and like I said, start off for about a minute, wait 5 or 6 minutes, because they back up and then they go it again. But do that same process on the younger ones if you want to, but a whole lot softer, because like I said, they don't have the body weight and the size like these the bigger bucks. I think that's about it for today, and like I said, I'll be uploading some more shows here in a little bit. So I think that's about it for today. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll be doing some more uploads. Y'all have a good day.